Okay, thank you folks for joining us this evening. First up, we have our routine items for approval. So you'll see in your board docs packets the regular board meetings minutes for our December 14th meeting, as well as the Committee on Special Education for the multiple dates listed, and there were no minutes for the Committee on Special Education. Any questions or discussion on those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those routine items. Thank you, Amanda. Second. Thanks, Crystal. All those in favor? All right. Great. That's here. First up tonight, we have a presentation from our BOCES staff. So Superintendent Dexter is here with his team. I'm going to let Dan give them kind of the full introduction, but appreciate you folks coming tonight and presenting all the great things that BOCES is doing. We're excited to hear about it.
Absolutely. Great to have our friends from BOCES here, but more excited to have our students who attend BOCES, who are Hudson Falls students here tonight to present to us. So we want to introduce Jim Dexter, Nancy DeStefano, Mike Barney, as well as BOCES board member David Petruska. I think I saw all the students, but I'm not positive. I know we did have one young lady who let us know just a little while ago that she's not able to come. She's not feeling well. But should be Kamari, Gracie, Dawson, Kate, and Emily, if everybody else was able to be here tonight. So thanks to those students and even the ones who couldn't attend tonight, because I'm sure there was some preparation before tonight to get ready. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Dexter.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ward, and thank you, everyone. It's good to see so many of you again, and it's really our pleasure to be here. For those who don't know me, I'm Mr. Dexter. I'm privileged to be the district superintendent, and there's a few different phases of what we have today. So we always try to start off with our students, because that's the most important piece of it. Then we have a little data. Then Mike Barney, our chief fiscal officer, is going to go over some data on the BOCES program. And we'll have Mr. Petruska have an opportunity to say a few words on behalf of the board. And then normally that's where we stop. But this year, since it is my last year, I just have a couple slides I want to share with the board, kind of thinking ahead a little bit on the cooperative and just thinking ahead of things I hope the boards will think about. And I do want to thank Dr. Steele, by the way. My shoulder is doing a lot better, and all that radiation, he fixed me right up. So I know you can't say it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Thank you. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stefano. We're going to talk about the students. I am going to hand out a one-pager. I've got some really, really expensive pens that I'm going to send your way. They're probably about 4 cents each, but they do have our logo on. And then, like I said, the students are really the highlight for us.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. We have almost everyone here that you said in excellent.
Okay.
We have with us tonight Kate Diamond, who is a 12th grade student in conservation at the Southern Adirondack Center. We have Emily Fisher, who is in 11th grade in health occupations. We have Gracie Nasavera, who is a 12th grade student in music and health occupations and careers program. We have Dawson Webster, who is in 12th grade in heavy equipment. We have Debbie Mayer from construction trades as well. Can we ask the teacher to come forward, please? Now, they haven't figured out who's going first yet, so I'm just going to ask them about their
Thank you, sir.
So we have Kate tell you a little bit about conservation. Tell them a little about what you do every day as part of the program.
Basically, we learn how to use forestry equipment, chainsaws, skid steer, bulldozer, and wind excavator. We also learn how to identify trees and the forest.
And how about the land lab and some of the activities that you do during the school day as part of the program?
Yeah, so every day we go to, it's called CrossFit, it's in Fort Air, it's a land lab, and we learn how to fell trees and how to make lands more lovable.
As part of what we do, the environmental conservation program is prepared to go on to oftentimes board school training to become ENCON officers, loggers, some other things like that. So can you talk a little bit about what you can start after high school?
Kate, what's been your favorite part of your program so far?
Going outside just we're never really
indoors besides our academic days. And every day we can go outside and do
It's really cool equipment, very large super cutters and things like that. Really cool.
Awesome.
Of course, that's a pretty nice backdrop for an educational day. Not that the classroom isn't a great place to be, but that's a very, very nice place. I was fortunate to go there a long time ago. It's where the sixth graders used to go for their sixth grade overnight trip when I was in elementary school, close to 200 years ago when I was there. But I appreciate it. Anything else you wanted to share about the program with the board members or with the administration or the folks that are here in the audience? No, awesome. Did you have more?
I have one too.
Yeah, no, for sure. But thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you.
Emily? Sure. Emily Fisher is in grade 11 from Health Occupations. This is a program that basically trains you to be a certified nursing assistant once you complete the program. But Emily, why don't you tell us about today?
So like 2 days out of the week, for me it's Mondays and Tuesdays, we go to what we call clinicals. So we go to Fort Hudson and we help out the residents there. We help them with feeding and taking care of them and whatever. We obviously do the academic stuff too, but it's really interesting to be able to help them, when they can't help themselves.
And why are you interested in this program and what is it going to be used for after high school?
I was interested in the program mainly because a lot of people in my family are nurses, and that's what I want to be when I get out of high school. I want to work towards my BSN. So that's really cool.
So the first step towards that would be certified nursing assistant licensure. Then the next step could be a licensed practical nurse. And then from there it could be a registered nurse. And then from there it could be a physician's assistant, a doctor, whatever you want to do beyond that.
Do you know what kind of healthcare setting you want to go into? Are you looking to pursue elder care as you're doing now, or do you see yourself in a healthcare setting?
Elder care is definitely interesting, but I do kind of want to branch out, see other different environments.
Sure.
Just try different things.
Great.
Any other questions for Emily? Johnson?
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Emily.
Johnson Webster is in Kaufman. He's in our heavy equipment and repair program. So you're going to tell us a little bit about your program, what you do today.
So heavy equipment is basically, it's a jack of all trades class. So not only do I learn how to operate stuff like skid steers, backhoes, 60-ton machines, it's all just incredible blue-collar learning. Just the last week, I learned how to wire in a light switch in a series using a breaker box. That's not something you get out of heavy equipment, but it's a jack of all trades class. Whereas, some of the other classes focus a little bit more. We focus on a lot, very detailed. So I'm hoping after school, after I graduate, I can get into a good operation job somewhere like D.A. Collins, someplace that has a good reputation that I could apply my skills very well to.
And Johnson, have you had any work internship opportunities yet?
Sorry.
You had any internship opportunities yet?
Opportunities, yes. None that I can take currently. Don't have a license. They're kind of outside of Hudson Falls. But internships are actually a big part of heavy equipment because it's earning class time while not being in class. And what other class? Okay, well then, you guys know how.
Talk a little bit about how the ELA and math are integrated, because that's a big piece of the heavy equipment when you're doing the technical reading and everything.
So how they work in together is in heavy equipment, and especially the mechanical part of this. There's a lot of math going on all the time, whether it's you trying to guess or give your best estimate to finding a bolt the size of a 5/8 wrench. or it could be, what's the next item? 7/16. It could be anything like that. That's how we use our math to kind of work into our mechanics. Our ELA is kind of more of our vocabulary and like associating what we're using with the actual terms and definitions, which makes it a hell of a lot easier, sorry, to learn the ELA portion of it. We also do work logs at the end of the day that we write down what our main job for the day was and whether we completed it or not, whether we should have said whether we again. Yeah, that's how we integrate our English and math into one. And yeah, why I like my class. Then we get our own building.
What's your favorite machine so far to operate?
So far, it's got to be the backhoe.
Yeah.
I love having the ability to do both the work of an excavator and a bucket loader.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
We have Devin Ringer from Construction Base. Devin, could you talk a little bit about what you do each day?
Well, usually we go in and we learn about all types of electrical tools, hand tools, all types of stuff you see on a work area in construction. And we learn how to use that. We learn how to use it safely, obviously. Gotta be safe. Everything you need for a job site, how to build buildings, every type of building you can think of. We learn how to build.
Most of the projects you've done so far this year and last year.
Last year, we started on small stuff because it was my first year. We built book boxes so kids could come up and take books out of it, learn how to build sawhorses, like beginner skills. And this year, we were actually able to go to a workplace now just down in Glens Falls, and actually learn how to like frame walls and build a building from ground up.
What are the plans after this year?
After high school, I'm just hoping to be able to find a company that I can work for and just build my way up from there.
These first semester students in their senior year in particular have internship opportunities. Some of them begin in the fall, but the majority of them in the spring semester. Many of our students from those internship opportunities get paid jobs right out of high school, which is the goal to the workforce. So we'll hopefully have opportunities.
Awesome. Do you guys know where you're going for possible internships, or do they not know yet? Or do you know?
We might not know yet because we set that up starting the end of January, beginning of February.
Got it.
There will be a few steps coming.
Got it.
It's
So,
always an option.
yeah, it's fantastic. What about a specialty area? Have you thought that far? I heard what you said about wanting to find a job with a company so you can advance yourself in the trades. Is there a specific thing that you like in construction more than other things?
I would just like a company that would be able to like have every type of work in there, not just one little thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to build a whole building instead of just one part of it.
It's awesome. That brings the company's name into my mind. That's why I'm asking. But, yeah. Other questions or anything else you wanted to share with everyone? Awesome. Thank you. And I'm sorry that you weren't on my list, so I want to thank you for being here tonight, too.
And then we have Grace Masavira, who is an undergraduate healthcare program. This is a one-year program that focuses on healthcare options. I'm going to Grace tell you a little bit about what she does in the business.
Yeah, so I can just run something just to sum it all up. So, the New Vision's Health Careers program is a one-year honors level course designed for high school seniors interested in the medical field. Our curriculum is very rigorous and very competitive. This program, we obtain about 130 observationals over 30 different clinical rotations, and we have both hospital sites and clinical sites outside of the hospital that we get to go to. As students, we learn about different health-related careers and career opportunities through these rotations.
probably been a very interesting conversation for the classroom with New Visions. Any questions for Lacey?
New Visions is full day, right?
It's 8 to 11.
Do you have a segment within healthcare that you think you're interested in?
Yeah, I'm really interested in neuropsychology.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So in all of our programs, the students from ELA and math club is integrated and connected to whatever they're doing in their CBE program. So in environmental conservation, their math and their ELA will be catered to specifically related to that field in CBE. And some of the students talk a little bit about how it links to what they're doing. That's part of the integration with CBE for ELA and math. Students can earn a credit over 2 years in both of those areas. In New Visions, Grace is going to earn her credits for honors English and for economics and pagan instead of taking it here from high school. So it's integrated into all of them. They'll have internship opportunities in their senior year. They also have an opportunity to participate in Skills USA, which is a leadership and competition program that is across the country. Unfortunately, with COVID, none of these students have had the opportunity yet to do so. So we really didn't have anyone to talk about Skills USA, but it is a really phenomenal leadership opportunity, and the students compete within their current technical education program. We have many students who compete locally, but then also go on to regional, states, and national. So we're not sure what's going to happen this year with Skills USA. We're hoping, but we'll see. We haven't been able to participate in person in 2 years. So, but it's an opportunity that we hope will have this year. Any questions for me or my students?
Yes, Mr.
There was one.
I was speaking for Dean Palmer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Come on.
I'm Ethan Herrick. I'm here representing Kate Palmer. He couldn't make it tonight. I do the advanced manufacturing program through P-Tech and Early College Career Academy. Our basic day is we head over to the SUNY starting at 11 o'clock. So from 11 to 2, we take courses at SUNY. Currently, we only take our advanced manufacturing, but through the program, we're also allowed to do college courses, which gives us a head start on basic courses you take your freshman and sophomore year of college, and it gives us a huge head start on that. We've taken basic chemistry as well as English 101, and we will be taking public speaking starting spring semester. In advanced manufacturing itself, we work with machinery in the more physical aspect of like machine shops. We understand like CAD, and we get to use CNC machines such as milling and lathe. These machines cost thousands of dollars, and we wouldn't be able to use them like in normal schools. So it's an opportunity to use machinery we'd see in the real world public application.
So with the ECC program, advanced manufacturing is a program that our P-Tech students get into as well. Are you doing 11th elementary school, or did you start in 9th grade?
I started back summer before ninth grade year. It's a 6-year program through P-Tech. So I would be going on to complete it next year, but I've had an offer from another college, so I will be continuing to the 6th year.
So the students who begin with the P-Tech program can actually earn an associate's degree over that course of 6 years, that they walk away with 2 years worth of college credits, and then can transfer into a 4-year school if they choose to at the degree level. This young man has been selected to go on to college sooner than that, so he will be almost done probably with his associate's degree, very close with credits, but not quite. But that will give him certainly a leg up moving into a 4-year school. I'm trusted that that will change at the high school.
I plan, so with advanced manufacturing, it works towards a associates of mechatronics, which is a mixture between mechanical engineering and electrical engineering, and it's very useful if you'd like to do, like be on machine floors for like assembly lines. Myself, I would like to further in the technology field and go into like engineering, which is like a step above like the operator level, which would is what we're provided in advanced manufacturing.
And the ECC program is offered at the SUNY campus or the Greenwood campus for SUNY Adirondack, and also at the Wilton campus. and they are on campus as college students throughout that time.
Awesome.
Special students be able to be on college campuses.
Awesome. Questions?
Go ahead.
I think I have a question mostly for you, but pipe in if any of you know the answer to this. You know, you're looking at a 6-year commitment potentially. They range in what kind of commitment in terms of how many years this is. When we've had BOCES students come here before in the ECHA program, in the CTE program, some of the students have said that it made them realize that what they thought they wanted to do following high school was not exactly what they wanted, and so it gave them a chance to change. How much flexibility do students have if that's the case, if they enter into one of these programs and they find that this isn't really what I thought it was, I think I want to go somewhere different? How does that affect their pathway of graduation?
So the students it doesn't matter which program they are in, they can make that transition, depending on when they choose to make that change. They'll still get the credits that they have, but they may have, if they go to a whole year in CTE, they may need a second year. They can transfer their senior year into the new program, but they might not get all the credentials from that program, depending on the program they're coming from. So they can really do that at any time. We do have students who change after the junior year into a different program. We have students that will be in a program for a couple of weeks and say, this isn't for me, and we'll move them to a different program and work with the home school to see the students on what is the right match for them.
I think it comes down to whether or not they can qualify for the industry credential, because every program has an industry credential. So if they're there 2 years and they complete a certain number of things, they might be able to take the industry credential, which is a credential beyond an education credential. And it just depends on the program, how long they've been, whether or not they can qualify for that. They can move programs.
This is a question so much, but I just want to say this is always my favorite. Always my favorite. It's an interest for me.
Yeah, such great kids. I mean, you just and thank you. This district has really looks out, in my opinion, for the interest of all the kids and says, you know, we're going to provide opportunity just beyond these walls. And I think it makes a huge difference in kids being able to choose their own pathway. So I just want to say thank you. These are your programs. You know, somebody years ago raised their hand and said, we want to be a part of programs that are bigger than just ourselves. And you continue that legacy. So thank you.
I just have, like, I don't really figure out how to best word this question. It's for any of you, really, I guess, but how have you found, like, the balance between a non-traditional pathway where you're maybe off your home school's campus every day or most of the time, and kind of balancing, the social and emotional learning that goes on with your friends and, being in a traditional school every day? What's that balance like for you? And has it been hard? Has it been easier than you thought? What has that been like? I don't know if I asked that all that well, but.
For me personally, I feel like it was a smooth transition, even though it was new people from like neighboring schools such as Queensbury, one called Southwood Falls. It's not too difficult of a change because through a class of students who have similar interests as you do, because they're also pursuing the same path you are. So it's just a similar hobby and interest that led them to the same path you did, cause for a smooth transition.
Yeah, thinking about that, it's like, I have some of my original friends in that class, but also like I made friendships with people I didn't think I would have if I weren't in that class. So it's just like kind of brought us together because of our mutual interests.
You've made friends of people that are in the school district here at Hudson Falls, but you became friends once you got to BOCES and were in those classes together?
Hudson Falls and other
And other
schools.
schools.
Like Queensbury.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Personally, I'm the only senior in my class in Hudson Falls. So this year, going back to BOCES as it normally was outside of last year's BOCES, which is every other day, I got to meet a lot of new people from schools from all over the place. There's Warrensburg, Salem, Whitehall, Granville, everywhere. And it's favorite quite the class because there's a lot of diversity, but we're all similar-minded as far as keeping our social life in our home school goes. It's very easy because we come back, or I come back here at the end of the day, and I still see everybody before we get back on the bus and say goodbyes and all of that.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
So we just have a couple other pieces, and I just have a couple slides for you. I'll introduce Mr. Hudson, who's board president, former board president, and then Dave's a board member for the BOCES. And we always like to have one of our board members just come out, say a few words, and represent the board. Mike will do a few things. And I've got a couple slides, and we'll get out of here.
Yep.
Well, thanks for having us, and thank you for sending your notes.
David, I'm going to ask you, so that's the microphone so the folks at home can hear you. Not trying to make you uncomfortable. You don't have to sit. You can stand or sit, whatever you want to do.
Again, thanks for having us, and thank you for sending your youngsters. We thoroughly enjoy everything that they provide for our program and their participation. I'm here to pitch something different. We are a 15-member board. As of January 1st, we have dropped to 12, so we have a unique opportunity. The elections are in April. So in a sense, I'm here to pitch a try before you buy. If you want to come online for a couple, 3 months, please entertain it. BOCES board is totally different. You're dealing with all these youngsters you've had here tonight from all of the schools, 31 school districts. Unlike a regular board, you are reimbursed for mileage. We do provide a meal at the board meeting night, primarily because we're coming from all over. But more importantly, we start at 5 o'clock with our pre-board meeting sessions where we'll be meeting with the negotiations, finance, everything that's involved in that. And then it's a one-night-a-month arrangement, basically. We try and stick to that. That doesn't mean we don't want you to show up as board members to our open houses and things of that nature that are open to the public, so long as we can have it open to the public. But give it some thought. We do need some new blood. I'm one of the antiques that have been on the board for a while. I enjoy it. So I keep coming back. It's also for the paycheck, so.
You get double the pay.
That's right. You don't have to be a sitting board member to be on the board. It's open to anyone 21 years of age? 18. Okay, there you go. And again, if you wanted to try it, you give a holler, you set it up, you give you short-term appointment. If you decide after a couple of months if you're interested in it, that's great. Put your name in, get on the ballot for the April elections, and then you're in for 3 years. It's not a bad deal. The programs are just phenomenal. Just trying to keep track of them all is a challenge. It can be done. And then to show up at the various centers and see the interaction between the youngsters and the staff. And it's just like family. It's really amazing. So that's my pitch. Entertain it. I'd love to have all of you down there. Some of you have seen it county board meetings. Please give it some thought. Thanks again for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Mike Lavarney, our chief fiscal officer, we do have a one-pager. A couple years ago, some board members said if you could have like some data that we share, that you can kind of take a look at the whole books operation. That's a handout. Mike's just going to go over a couple things. He's got to have something to do tonight. But in all seriousness, just go over a couple facts and a couple slides. And like I said, I'm going to get out of here.
Hi, folks. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. As you heard from the students, and as you can see, I'm starting on the CTE side here. You can see there's lots of exciting opportunities for our students for career, technical, and specialty programs. It's an exciting time to be a CTE student. They're provided with lots of hands-on experience and lots of workplace-based experiences. You can see that we had 345 students actually experience that firsthand and get to go out and work with our local businesses. And as you're all well aware of, job prospects are phenomenal for students that are coming out of these programs. Really exciting opportunities, whether they're going right into the workforce or if they're going to college. Moving down to our Exceptional Learners Division, through various program approaches, which you can see in blue in specialized services. We're trying to help our exceptional learners be as successful as possible. These are customized and self-paced learning experiences, really designed to meet students where they're at, academically, behaviorally, socially. You can see what some of our outcomes were on the left-hand side there. You know, the two main goals that we're really trying to accomplish here are to transition some of our younger students back into their district classrooms and help our older students, high school students, transition to life after school. And over onto the back, talking about a couple final components of BOCES. Our student support services. You know, looking at the numbers obviously are big in terms of what we do for technology, whether it be helping districts with technology procurement, helping districts integrate technology into the classroom. But there are lots of other things that go along with student support services, whether that be enriching the curriculum in various areas, providing professional development, helping districts with their communication, lots of different things that we do in that area. And finally, down at the bottom, along a similar line, our administrative services, helping districts with things like cooperative bidding. We administer the health insurance consortium for all of our component districts. Basically, with student support services and administrative services, taking advantage of the economies of scale that we, and the savings that goes with that from doing things at the BOCES level and passing that through to the districts. And you can see in the bottom right, you know, we generated, you know, close to $26 million in BOCES state aid for districts last year alone. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
And Mr. DiCaprio, we'll move over to that.
Yep.
Normally, this is where we end, but because it is my last year, I wanted to spend a little time just talking about where we are in the region and maybe some challenges and things that you should think about. Of course, BOCES is nothing but a cooperative of school districts, and every one of these school districts said we want to be part of this larger cooperative at some point in time. And the good news is we're in good shape on a lot of things, but I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I think there's some things that as a region we're thinking about, and I'm just going to touch base on those on the next few years. So in the region, there's a couple different challenges I think that I want to bring to your attention, which none of them are going to be surprised. The first is we do have some declining enrollment in the region, and I think that really, you're a little bit of a larger district, but for some of the smaller districts, it's really a chance to really think about if they want to maintain their identity as a school district, but also trying to think about how they can work together to provide opportunities for kids, because what they are able to do in their own districts might be harder to do with the declining enrollment. I'll show you some data on that. For the BOCES, I think some long-range facilities planning. We're very fortunate. You own 2 of the buildings, the Hudson Falls building on Dix Avenue and the Myers Center. The BOCES owns that, so the districts do. Both of those buildings, there's no debt. We have no debt. The only thing we have is an energy performance contract, and the districts have done a great job of giving us funds every year to help keep the buildings open. The boilers are good, the roofs are good, the infrastructures are good, but I think there's some long-term needs that probably in the next 3 to 5 years we're thinking about. And I just want to bring to your attention too, we're also trying to have a focus on our women in trades program. When we look at our data, we're not seeing enough young ladies take a part of some of the programs that are really outstanding job opportunities and entrepreneurial opportunities where the money is, in all honesty. And so we're going to try to really focus on bringing more women into our trade programs, and I think there's a lot of support for that. So we'll move on. So just a few things moving on the future. We'll move to the slide. So if you look, when I got here in 2010. I probably could have seen this in 2010, but you'll see that we were at over 40,000 students in the supervisory district, and we're down to 36,238, and that includes pre-K students. And if you look at a lot of the districts, particularly in Washington County up in the Adirondack, but even in some of the suburban districts, the enrollment continues to decline. And I think this is an opportunity for districts to think, that you may not be able to control all the enrollment, but I think what you can do is control the opportunities that you have for students. And I think most districts want to maintain their self-identity, but I do think that there's some opportunities. I think there's 2 ways to look at it. We could do less for kids, or maybe we could do more for kids because maybe there's some kids out there regionally we're not serving. And so why don't we move to the next slide. So I just want to talk a little bit about, you'll see a trend here. So if you look at the red bar, that's the number of juniors and seniors in the region. And so there's 5,655 juniors and seniors in the region. And of that, you'll see on the blue graph, the percentage of students who actually are involved in career and technical education. And as you'll see, even though the number of students have gone down, the percentage of students involved in career and technical education has gone up a little bit, which makes me think there is an interest. And I think a lot of parents are starting to look at college and look at college expenses and say, is college for everyone? Are there other opportunities out there beyond just a four-year degree? So here's an example. Now this is our early college career. We actually started this year with more students than last year, but SUNY put in I'm not blaming anyone, but SUNY put in a policy that if you weren't vaccinated, you couldn't go, and they de-enrolled the students. So we lost, 12 students, 13 students. That just college said you can't come anymore. So we actually had more students. But we put this program in several years ago, and this district was a leader in this district, in this program. And what this district said is, we have a lot of opportunities for kids, but there are kids and pathways out there that maybe our kids might further benefit from. And so they were a leader in early college and a leader in P-TECH. And when you look at this, what we learned is there's a group of students out there who might not be our traditional career and technical education students. They might not be students who traditionally, sometimes they're students who might be considered not your A-level students, but students maybe who they're here, they're good students, but maybe they're not as engaged. And what we learned is there are groups of students in every district that maybe what they have for themselves in the home district, they want to be involved in athletics, they want to be involved in music, but there might be other academic avenues and job opportunities available to them. And what we learned is there's quite a few students. And I think when you think about the declining enrollment, I think rather than just say we might do less for kids, I think the question is, are there other pathways out there that might be viable for kids? Because what we know is if kids are engaged in their learning pathway, they pick it and they get to choose it, they're much more likely to be successful. There's so many students who do great in this building every day, but I'm sure you have a lot of hands-on learners, a lot of kids who are interested in the workforce and good workers. And I think as you move as a region in this next several years, I think there's some other opportunities for regionalization, and like I said, particularly small districts who might not be able to offer as much as they once did with some of the declining enrollment. The other thing that you may not know is we have a fairly large adult education program. The districts don't pay directly for the adult education program, and our adult education program has continued to grow. We do adult machining, we do adult welding, 4 modules, we do electrical technology, we do residential construction, we do marine technology. We have a boat now. We donated a boat. We do CNA. We have a number of other adult programs, and they continue to grow. And as you'll see, even in the pandemic, our adult programming is growing. And I just like boards. I think one of the great things is we have more people involved. At the same token, believe it or not, we're kind of pinched for shop space in some cases, and we do use the same shops for some of these programs. But over the long term, we do have some space needs that probably are going to have to be think of. But I think there's a lot of people. We do a lot of CDL, by the way, as well. So I think our adult program will continue to grow, and people try to develop skills to improve their lifestyle and have better paying jobs. So all of this is kind of connected in some ways. So the BOCES itself, as far as our buildings that you own, they're in good shape, like I said. The roofs are good, the boilers are good, the infrastructures, they look nice, they're safe for kids, they're good. But there are some facilities planning things that I think in the next 3 to 5 years that probably the boards will be asked to think about. And I think probably, rather than at some point maybe, I think the districts are going to have to decide if there's a larger project to try to bring our buildings a little bit farther into the future. So Mike, if you could go on a little bit. So as I mentioned, we own 2 buildings, the Southern Atlantic Educational Center and the Ephthalma Meyer Center. We lease 2 special education buildings, one in Fort One in Fort Edward, we lease from the Diocese of Washington Street Teaching and Learning Center. That's mostly special education for grades. Depends on the year, how many students we have, but generally 6 through 8 and K through 5. For the most part, K through 6 at the Sanders Street Teaching and Learning Center, which we lease from Glens Falls. These buildings serve us well, but the Washington Street Center does need a tremendous amount of work, and we're not going to use, district taxpayer funds to put in a multi-million-dollar project or into a building we don't own. And so I think long-term there's a few things that may come on your radar in the next 3 to 5 years. The first thing is we do have some long-term program needs at Myers and SAAC. In other words, how the buildings are built, how they use. We're doing a big culinary project over in Dix Avenue. I don't ever see a situation where we don't have the Dix Avenue building and the Myers Educational Center. I just think with all the districts and how long it takes to get to them, I don't think it would make sense to consolidate those buildings. But we collect $800,000 a year, which, obviously is a good amount of money. The districts are very, really helpful in doing that. But when it comes to longer term projects, if we really want to bring these buildings into the 21st century, probably at some point we're going to have to think a little bit of a bigger project. So where we are right now, we have some limited shop space for program expansion. I'd love to bring an HVAC program up to SAAC. I just have nowhere to put it. And that's sad. I got jobs, I got companies banging down the door. We try to figure out where to put it. But I think there's some things we could do. Washington Street has some long-term needs. We also have some interest from some of the southern part of the BOCES and some of our non-components because they like our special ed programs. And the question is, where are our buildings located? I think at some point there's probably a discussion to be had with the districts of where those buildings are. Would it make sense to put up a building on a 20-year lease bill, which we can do, or build a building that is specifically designed for those populations and maybe centrally located? I think that discussion is probably going to happen at some point. And then I think there's some long-term instructional needs that have to be considered. In other words, we all build space differently than we used to. When these buildings were built, there was teachers, a nurse, and a principal. Well, that's not how we operate our programs. We have social workers, psychologists, and same with all of our programs. How we design our buildings are so different because of the needs of the current program. So the districts have been wonderful throughout these years. I just don't want to be surprised when somebody a couple of years from now says, let's put together a committee and start looking at, like, well, the Dexter guy's gone, all of a sudden somebody wants a new building. That's not what we're looking for. But I do think this is a challenge that probably is going to come to your radar in the next 3 to 5 years because these are your programs, these are your buildings, and you've been great stewards of them, but I think there is a time in the next 3 to 5 years that they're worth considering. Michael, move on. And as I mentioned, the Women in Trade program, if you look at some of our programs, some of them are in balance in both ways, but when you look at auto body, there's 20 young men, 3 young ladies, auto tech, 73, and this is both centers, 73 young men, 75. I guess I need new glasses. You say heavy equipment and diesel repair. These kids operate and they repair. They'll get a job wherever they want to at a good rate. 130 young men, 4 young ladies. These are good jobs. Welding, same thing. I think we're trying to think about ways to be more deliberate in 3 different ways. How we recruit, how we support young ladies in the program, and how we connect them to business and industry. And we have work to do. I look back and I say, I wish I had done more with this, but I think if there's something that I think we should all be focused on is how do we make sure all young ladies feel comfortable, that they have opportunities, that they're willing to take these opportunities, that they're supported, and can get these same jobs. Because the companies are banging down the doors. You can't believe the number of calls we get nowadays for people who need people with skilled labor. And honestly, we have some work to do as a region to better balance this out. I know we have work to do, and I'm hoping everyone will join us in this work beyond just this year. And these are the same slides that you have on your thing. And then we have an initiative, Women in Trades, and we started off with a lunch. But we're trying to make it not just a one-shot deal. Districts sent young ladies to our programs. We're going to have a committee of stakeholders that are going to help us move forward. And what we're trying to do is not make this a one-shot deal, but really a different way of thinking about how we bring women into the trade. So I thank you for your patience. I thank you for everything you've done over these years. And I just want to thank you personally and all the boards for I've been very fortunate here, and I can't thank you enough. So I'll answer any questions you have, and I'll let you know.
I've got one quick one if nobody else does. I probably should know, Jim, but I don't. What is the process when BOCES does need a large capital project? What's the approval process? What's that look like? How's
You have to have a bond referendum in all 31 school districts.
Okay.
There's two parts of it. So you didn't used to have to do that. The commissioner really wants it, so you actually would have to have a polling spot in all 31 districts. And then there's a second part. The first part is the approval, and then the second part is how you do the financial agreement. So, for example, you could have some districts say, I have cash, I'm willing to pay my portion, but you have to do either go out for DANK bonds, which are dormitory authority bonds, which I always think are like credit card. I don't like DANK bonds because they're expensive to the dormitory authority. Or you have to have a mutual financing agreement between all 31 school districts, and so some districts could potentially borrow, other districts may have cash to pay. It depends on the total, but you have to have an agreement between the districts of how you would pay for them.
If it fails in one of those 31 districts, it fails, or? So the vote itself is on the total. The mutual financing agreement has to be unanimous between the 31 districts, or else you have to go to the bank bonds. Like I said, and those are expensive. Dormitory authority. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but I do think it's probably at some point in time it will happen. Once again, thank you. I've taken a lot of your time, and thanks for your kids are great. Anybody have any additional questions for Jim and team? No, well, we would just wish you the best in retirement. We would echo, your comments. It's been a great partnership with now close to 5 years I've been on the board, and I think Jeff and Mark and Brian would echo similar comments. We certainly wish you the best. You've been a great steward, not only for our students, but for students across the region. So I appreciate all of your efforts.
It's been a pleasure to be on my, I don't know what to say, except it's been such a great career highlight for me. Couldn't end up in a better spot than this era. Thank you very much.
Next year, Jim will be in a different spot this time of year. He'll be in Florida, where his new home is, enjoying the warm weather. But I want to say thank you as well for everything.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, we're going to be in the Sarasota area. Excellent. It's going to be a little different for us. Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
And before we move on, if you'll indulge me, I just wanted to let the conversation flow this evening, the presentation flow. But I do want to take a moment, if we could give the students who came tonight a round of applause for coming out. For certain, presenting in front of a large group of people is not something you do every single day. Many of you have done it a few times or done it more than others. But I appreciate you coming out tonight knowing that there was going to be folks here to watch you present, and for giving us a little window into the programs that you're in. And I hope they serve you well. I took some nice notes on it, so I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
Well said, Dan. And to that point, you folks are more than welcome to stay. I always want to let you guys know that you can stay. You don't need to. It's 10 of 8 now, so I understand we've probably got at least another 45 minutes on our agenda. So either way, you're fine. But thank you again for coming in. It was great to hear from you. As Amanda said, this is always one of our favorite nights. We'd love to hear directly from students. So thank you, folks. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so with that, we're going to transition back to our normal agenda. First up, we have public comments. Do you have any public comments this evening? Come on down.
Good evening. My name is Jody Supernaut, and I'm, a teacher here at Hudson Falls. I'm also a National Board Certified Teacher, member of the Academy of Master Teachers, and I serve on the advisory board for the Capital Region Master Teacher Program. I'm the Class of 2024 Advisor, High School Building Team Chairperson, HFTA Regional Action Planner, and our district's Mentor Coordinator. Most importantly, I am a district president, a Hudson Falls graduate, and a parent of 2 high school students and 1 middle school student. Point being, I wear a lot of hats and I've seen a lot of things. Speaking in my professional capacity, I want to let you know about the good work going on in our building. With the support of our building team administration reps, Chris McPherson and Jim Benefield, our parent rep, Mary Kay Schwab, and our student rep, Gracie Nasavera, and the leadership of our teachers, we unanimously approved the high school building goal of being better together. To do so, we have pledged to work toward improving our school culture by creating an environment of trust and community where people are valued and feel a sense of pride in their school. We have also pledged to improve collective efficacy with the knowledge that together we can positively impact our students and school community. As a school community, we value the shared decision-making process and firmly believe that when decisions are made with the input of students and families, teachers and administrators, the community, and the Board of Education, we are all better for it. To that end, we look forward to continuing this collaborative model where all stakeholders have a seat at the table and where all voices are heard as we move forward developing initiatives with the potential to positively impact our students. As a parent, I want to let you know that I'm thrilled about our goals to improve culture, instill pride, and increase collective efficacy because of its potential to provide my own children with an experience similar to the one that I had here at Hudson Falls High School. I will forever treasure my days as a Hudson Falls student athlete. In those days, we lived and breathed Tiger Pride. It wasn't just a hashtag, it was something we felt deeply and carried with us in all aspects of our lives. This is what I want for my children, and this is what I want for all of our children. And I'm thrilled that our building is taking the steps to revive this culture. Lastly, I just want to take a moment to thank my children's teachers, coaches, building principals, nurses, security, cafeteria, custodial, all of you guys. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. But I want to thank you for taking the extra time that you do to reach out to my kids to check on them and their well-being. Thank you for your willingness to accommodate their needs as they struggled through quarantines, hybrid models, and virtual models, and endless pivots. Thank you for your kind words and understanding when their anxiety about their academic progress or schoolwork became overwhelming for them and had them on edge. Thank you for reteaching them and encouraging them, and thank you for just saying hi in the hallways. I know you all do this for all of your students, but I want to thank you personally for going above and beyond what many see as just teaching. I know how hard our teachers have worked over the last 2 years to prepare engaging lessons to accommodate all learners, work with and support parents at home, and support and advocate for our students. Please know that our teachers are making all the difference in the world for so many. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions are good?
So we used it there just for 1 second?
Yep.
I just want to, yep, so I got them. So just wanted to put out there that Jody actually shared some information with me today about Sharon Farrell becoming a nationally board certified teacher as well. So I wanted to, I don't know, are you out there, Sharon? I can't see up. So congratulations to you. And Jody also completed, I won't get it right, MOC, Maintenance of Certification.
Maintenance of certification,
Requirements.
Yes. So Sharon was one of 51 or 57 teachers in New York State to do it this year during the pandemic, which was, it was tough. So yeah.
So congratulations to both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments this evening? Okay, then we'll move forward. Next up on our agenda is our committee reports. So first up, we have personnel. Mr. LaFan is here this evening to take us through personnel. There's not a whole lot of activity on here given the time of year that we're at. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions, or Dan, if there's anything you want to highlight to this group beyond what's in their agenda already?
Nope, everything in the agenda. We have some general resignations, folks moving on to different positions for family reasons or to be closer to home and things like that. Normal resignations. And also some normal hiring. based on the resignations over the last couple of meetings, we're starting to fill those positions moving forward. So we don't have them all ready to go yet, but we have some of them ready to go. We'll keep working through it to get the team whole again.
Anybody have any questions on personnel? Okay, hearing none, personnel done by consent, so if there are no objections, personnel is carried. Next up is athletics, and if there are Mr. Vaughn for athletics.
Okay, so we had a very short meeting last Wednesday. There's only a few items on the agenda. To start off with, we're continuing discussion with the village regarding an agreement to use Irby Park for recreation, as well as some of our schools modified and JV varsity sports. That's continuing at this point. Kevin and Larry are getting together with the mayor and Mr. Nichols, village attorney. As soon as we decide on something like that, we'll notify the public. Mr. Carpenter advised that we're halfway through the winter season. Everything is going smooth as can be. We have not had any teams shut down. Thank God that's the case. There's been great crowds. He just wanted to identify that basketball. Coach Smith is doing a great job with the boys basketball. You guys are doing great there. Coach P did a great job with the chick tournament, as well as the youth wrestling tournament. Anything else on that, Mr. Wood, as far as the...
No, just I would say all teams. I've been able to get out and see everything except I haven't been to a hockey game yet. I haven't been to varsity.
Great too.
I haven't been to a varsity swimming, but I would say all of our coaches are providing a really nice experience for our student athletes.
Absolutely. Okay. So at this point, he also put kudos out to the Booster Club for we're going to be holding the green carpet events, so there's a possibility of a name change on that, but they're planning on doing for the girls and boys varsity game knockout during halftime with the youth program, which I think is outstanding to get them involved. As far as school spirit, Mr. Smith and Aaron are doing a great job with the posters in the hallway by the gym. Students and staff are really enjoying that. That's outstanding. Coaching appointments, that was all in personnel, so we're pretty much up to date on all that.
Yep.
Okay. And as far as another good future addition to our athletics, we're potentially putting the family ID in, which is the spring sport, the registration for all of the health. So I think streamlining that to online is going to be a great advantage for things to be processed a little bit better through the programs. But other than that, I think, is there anything else on this?
We mentioned, and I don't know how far we are, but it's worth saying out loud to everybody. There's a tailgate event that's being worked on to possibly occur February 15th. It would be, I think it's the same night as the boys' senior night. Is that the 15th, Craig? Probably, I think that's correct. So I know that's Joy Wicks and that the new position that the board supported to build community spirit. I'm speaking based on some initial conversations at BT, but stay tuned for more. But events like that are in the works on top of what's happened. Not necessarily an athletic thing, but it's going to happen the same night as athletics. It's more of a community involvement thing, but we're trying to marry those two again. Much along the lines of what Jody mentioned, trying to connect us to the community and have everybody really have that spirit.
Put a tent up outside and have some games underneath and Josh keep the food.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me on that.
Yep.
I missed that one.
And it's not technically.
Scratch here. I missed that.
Got it.
That concludes my athletic report.
Okay. Any questions for the athletic team? No? Okay. Let's see. Next up, we have audit. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. DeMoldi.
So we met last week for audit. Did start a little bit of the budget conversation and budget work. So that's kind of getting into full swing. I guess I'll start with treasurer's report, and then we do have some calendar changes for budget stuff that I'll let the end of time. So for the treasurer's report, we took in 2.8 million receipts and 3.8 in disbursements, leaving us a balance in the general fund of 19.7 million. And a total cash other things, so that's, t-shirts and stuff, so that's good to see activity in those accounts again. I think that's all I had. Do you want to approve the purchase order?
Sure, we can do that before we transition into the budget stuff. So, you've heard Crystal, the audit committee's recommendation. I would like a motion to approve the treasurer's report. So, thank you, Jeff. Second. Heidi, all those in favor? Great, okay. And you want to press ahead, or we can
No, I think
Kevin?
I'll,
Sorry.
yeah, I think I'll let Kevin.
So you want, go ahead, Kevin.
I'll do the calendar, and do the, okay. So we also presented to the audit committee, the district timeline, the budget calendar, which starts in early December and goes through the end of May, which is actually May 18th. Some key dates for everybody to remember here is obviously Wednesday, February 2nd is the next audit meeting. We did have a preliminary discussion about budget on January 15th. We will be going into much more detail in laying out the many different pieces of the budget this year, because we not only have the regular general fund budget, but we also have the 3 different sets of federal monies with budgets that we have to lay out also. So we will have details on those. We'll be breaking those out right now. We're building those budgets and getting them lined up for the February 2nd meeting. The next audit meeting would be Wednesday, March 2nd. It says if necessary, most likely we're going to need that as we move forward. The governor has given her state of the state at this point in time, and within the next couple of weeks, we're going to start getting state aid figures, hopefully by the end of January, which will also help drive the other side of our budget, which is the revenue side, as we start to create, the balance to move forward. The other big date, as you can see, is May 9th. Dan's going to talk a little bit about the budget information meeting. That's the budget hearing, which will be right before the board meeting. And Tuesday will be the budget vote. Just as to add on, one of the things that we talked about, we were talking about ballot boxes. We are getting quotes on those at this point in time. I know Dave McKeegan has talked to Washington County on exactly what we need to make sure that we have all the criteria to move forward with that, and we're getting quotes on those at this point in time.
So just so the full board knows, Washington County normally provides our ballot machines, and they told us already that they're unavailable this year. So we would have a number of options. One would be to buy or lease ballot machines, which are expensive and would require our own maintenance. So what Kevin is mentioning is the work that this team has done to try to come up with a more traditional paper ballot version that's still overseen through the board clerk and also the board of elections. How much do the machines cost? I don't know, Dan.
So I think the number we had was around $5,000, and it's not the machines. In the conversation I've had with Kelly and Kevin and with the audit committee, it's not the machines. It's we will be responsible for our own programming and anything that happens with those machines, because Washington County is stepping away completely based on the letter that they sent. Actually, the day after our meeting, January 3rd or 4th, they sent me a letter. So they're stepping away, so it all falls on us. For me, in year one, I don't mean me in year one, but in year one of not having the county support, I'd hate to have something occur with our machines that make it so that our election isn't valid. Where with ballot box, paper ballots, you had an experience with that a couple of years ago now. We all did. And Kelly and Kevin feel like they have a good process to use because there was an exorbitantly large amount of ballots that year because we had to mail them to everybody. A normal election here is around 400 to count 400 paper ballots, and who knows who will come out. It could be more, could be less, but you counted, I think, over 1,000 last time in a couple of hours and had the results with no issues. So we're thinking in a regular year, paper ballot is the way to go. If something different occurs regionally that we can attach ourselves to, if we decide later on we want to buy our own machines so we can have them, great. But right now, my recommendation would be paper ballots for this year, reevaluate for next year based on how things go for everybody else and how things go here.
One quick comment too, if you recall, one of the reasons why the county bought our Burgoyne Avenue facility is to store voting machines. So there's a whole process here, and there's a lot more to it than just buying the machine itself and maintaining it, but storing it,
in a dry place, without a lot of humidity, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot more to it. And I think paper ballots, at least for this year, is a great one.
So talking about dates, and I did talk with the audit committee during that meeting. Traditionally, Hudson Falls has done their budget hearing on a Monday, and certainly your board meetings are normally on a Tuesday. That's two different meetings, both of which have been relatively short in the last couple of years. There's nothing that precludes you from having both of those meetings on the same night, the budget hearing and then the regular meeting to follow immediately thereafter. I'm making a recommendation to do so, so that it's not 2 nights out for you folks. It's not 2 nights out for the people who are presenting and carrying on the meetings. Again, it's not necessarily about the time. It just makes sense. We also tend to get a few people for board meetings, and you've had years where you've gotten 0 people for budget hearings based on me asking about the history here. So if we combine them, it's definitely going to work. We won't be overfilled with people because there's that many trying to come. We have to move the board meeting to Monday that month because you have to have, by statutory regulation, you have to have a certain number of days between the hearing and the budget vote. And you could do the hearing on a Tuesday, but technically you wouldn't have the correct number of days because it wouldn't be past the hour. So if somebody were to come and challenge you because you had the hearing at 7 and your voting started at noon, technically you were 7 hours short of how many hours you should have had between the two events. So talking over with Kevin and recommending to the board that we do move that May meeting to the Monday and have the budget hearing first, with the board meeting to follow immediately thereafter. So that's the motion that you have on there.
Which certainly makes sense to me. I think, to your point, Dan, our public information hearing has always been very, very lightly attended, both by public and our board members. So I think, at minimum, it gets all of our board there on our board meeting, and hopefully the public, expressing the same level of interest in such an important topic. So that it certainly makes sense to me. Does anybody have a conflict where they're just not available on Mondays? That was my concern. Was it no? So not hearing any, I would entertain a motion to change the date of our May only Board of Education meeting from that Tuesday to that Monday. Thank you, Amanda. And a second? Thank you, Crystal. All those in favor? And then Dan and Kevin, anything additionally on the public information hearing?
Nothing at this time. We'll be working through the information. There's nothing additional that you have, Kevin, is there? No.
So with that, again, you've heard Dan and Audit Committee's recommendation. I would entertain a motion to set the calendar and approve the date of the public information meeting as listed in the budget timeline. So, thank you, Jeff. And a second? Thank you, Crystal. All those in favor? Carried. And then the last item is that we do need to formally approve the budget timeline as outlined in the board docs. If there are no questions on timeline, I would entertain a motion also to approve the budget timeline. So, thank you, Crystal. So seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Okay, as well. And that concludes audit, unless anybody has any questions. Okay, thank you. With transportation, we'll welcome back Dr. Steele and let you walk us through transportation. Anything you want to call out to the group?
Real quick, DOT report is there. Our inspection success rate is at 97%. You can see the trip report there. Biggest hurdle continues to be our drivers. So we actually have another permanent driver resigning as of today. So we'll have 2 buses vacant going forward, but still enough people to cover all of our routes and trips. We're in negotiation with New York Bus Sales, excuse me. We're going to trade a diesel for an alternate fuel with more discounts provided for the alternate fuels. And we had a minor accident. One of our buses back into the car, no kids on the bus, minor damage.
Dr. Steele, anybody have any questions on transportation or anything you want to add?
Just that our time with Mr. Murphy is coming short. So you'll hear me say more about that as we're moving through the process. But Kevin and I have been working through the process to replace him. So more to come on that.
And his retirement, remind me, is middle of next month, is that right?
Yeah, March, that's a date? March 11th, there it is. Yep. It'll be here before we know it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Steele. Next on our agenda is buildings and grounds. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gale.
Thank you, Ben. Real brief report tonight. The good news is we should have all our state ed approvals very soon. And we'll be able to, at that point, then go out to bid. We're a couple weeks behind what we had anticipated, but I think we're still pretty much on schedule for trying to begin the process than we had originally anticipated. So I think we're in good shape, and hopefully, it's a few days. Hopefully, we get the bids out maybe by the end of January.
Excellent. And I think, I think one of the really nice things about working with Steve Wickman and his team, they have so much experience that I think they build in some cushions in all of their planning to anticipate some of these potential issues, whether it's with state ed or funding or whatever it might be. So, although we would have probably liked to have been out a week ago, in the big picture, I think we're still right where we need to be and want to be. So, the great news is we've gotten those acceptances from state ed. So, do we have any questions on building grounds or capital projects? Okay, thank you. And next up, we have policy. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Lynn.
Okay. So all you will see on your agenda here for policy committee is a BOCES policy audit. Erie One BOCES does a complete audit for us once a year. And what you see here is just their recommended minor changes to policies that we have in place. And it's just to keep us up to date with any law changes that have taken place. We pay for this service. They go through all of our policies. So the policy committee has reviewed the proposed updates and recommends that the board approves these minor changes to our existing policies so we can send it back to Erie One BOCES and get the ball rolling on getting this in place.
Absolutely. And if it didn't stand out to you, when I first clicked on, it's the way this is listed in here, if you click on the recommended changes, you're going to get 278 pages of red line, which is a little overwhelming at first, but if you click on the bullet A that says the BOCES policy audit, it will link you to a summary document that summarizes those changes. So, Erie One does a great job. They're a world-class service in policy updates. We go through this every year. So any changes that are making is through normal maintenance and recommended updates. So correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda. So do we need a formal approval tonight, or is this just for the first read, of notifying you for the first read, and then we formally approve next month? Is that correct?
Just the first read to get it going, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So no formal approval is needed tonight, but I would recommend that you spend some time, especially on that summary document. All that information is concisely there, and you can make your way through it in a much more digestible fashion than putting on the entire document. Anybody have any questions on policy? Thank you, Ben. And last but not least, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi for our Advocacy and Pr update.
So I don't have a ton to report. On December 20th, we had the pleasure of meeting Carrie Warner, who reached out to us to sit for about an hour and talk about things that were relevant to Hudson Falls. I think it went very well. We talked about COVID-related things such as test to stay and quarantine guidelines, but we also talked about just regular running of Hudson Falls and what that's going to look like. And she was very proactive in asking us what we needed from her to facilitate any of those things. So it was a great meeting. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, no, I know. I just echo what you just said, and she's very supportive and encouraged us to reach out to her if there were specific things she could help us with. So we would certainly look forward to time to foster that relationship.
Would you add anything, Dan?
No, from that meeting, I'm good. That's great. I was glad that she took the time to come out and speak directly to board members. That was the whole purpose. She has seen me many times this year already.
Yeah, it's great that we have a partner that is proactively reaching out and asking how can I better help not only boards of education but school districts within their area of representation. So it was great. Glad you ladies were able to attend and represent the boards. Anything else I need to go on for?
That's all for today.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll forge ahead. Next up, we have our superintendent's update. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wood.
So a few items, and I'll try to be brief but complete. On the agenda tonight, it's one thing that we added today was an MOA with the Teachers Association. I had informed the board that we were working on it. It has to do with substitute coverage. As you know, there's a good number of teachers out there tonight. Every day, our school district, and certainly all the school districts around us and nationally, are fighting the good fight to keep kids in classroom and keep in-person learning going. This is going to help us have a teacher in front of students rather than combining classes or having a support staff member, although they're doing the best, they're not a trained teacher. So that's what it's about. Basically, it took a couple of months. I think Jen came to me a few months ago and took some time for us to review it, and then we had the holidays. But we've come to an agreement on the document that's in board docs, and if you're not okay passing that, we can speak about it briefly in executive session. If you are okay, I've been talking about kind of the information that would be in there for a couple of months now with everyone on the board through my weekly updates. Attendance data, there was a request at the last meeting for some attendance data. We did provide that through the board update last week. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, please do. We're happy to answer any questions. I want to credit Mike completely with putting that piece together for you. He and I did go over it. There's some compelling information there, well worth looking at it. We all know we're up against a pandemic, but we are still taking a look at our numbers in comparison to other school districts of similar size and socioeconomics and trying to see how we're doing. The current thought exchange that went out talks to students directly, asking them for some responses on why they don't come on the days they don't come. So we're trying to get some information directly from the students on that as well. So if there's questions about that, please reach out to me or Mike, and we'll do our very best to answer them. But we'll try to provide that. Did you want that monthly? I think, Ben, it was you that requested. Is that a monthly, or is that every couple months, or?
No, I think like quarterly is probably sufficient, right?
Okay.
That was all right. Format was all right.
Thank you.
Format was good. Okay.
Yep, appreciate it.
Test to stay. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about this. A lot of things have changed. I did put a message out to the entire staff here today. I don't think I sent one out to the board yet. You've been hearing from me about test to stay. So New York State said yes. Washington County waited a while. Washington County has now said yes, but the guidance from the county has changed a few times. Much of the information coming, I know the folks that are staff members out there that saw that email have heard this before. We get ready to send something, and the governor has a press conference and says something. Washington County doesn't operate or change procedures based on press conferences. They only operate on changes in written guidance. So that's why we lag behind other counties, because folks know some people have children to go into school in other counties, and we have parents who live in our school district but work in other counties who've been reaching out to me. I'm hopeful. There was some information that Washington County shared last night. I'm hopeful that there'll be more coming in the next day or two.
Continue writing while we're sitting here.
So something else came out. So if you don't like the weather in the North Country, wait 2 minutes. If you don't like the COVID guidance, wait 30 seconds and something will change. Trying to get a comprehensive document out to our families and to our staff that has the changes, and not put one out today and have to change it tomorrow. I do meet and advocate with my Washington County colleagues. We had a call yesterday with the Department of Health, and they were still waiting on the written guidance. Last night a letter came out that clarified a few things, but not everything. And now today the governor said that, and everybody's scrambling because she said the new guidance will be out by tomorrow. So Mike's looking at a document now. Washington County will be in touch with me tomorrow, or I'll be in touch with them. And we're going to try to get something out to get some of our students and staff who are out for unnecessary quarantines back in the building where they belong and in the best place for them, as long as we can do so safely. So long-winded way to say more to come, but it's not because we're not paying attention. It's because things are changing quickly, and we've got a couple more hurdles than other counties are experiencing, the school districts in those. Remote meetings was supposed to expire on the 15th. Just today, an email came to me actually a couple hours ago that there's a bill that's been sent to the governor's office to extend it past the 15th. Just putting it out there. I know everybody's in person, but if that bill is not passed by the governor's office, that means the only way to participate would be back in person, which is what we've been doing anyways, but we had a couple of folks ask about being remote if they needed to be. I don't see why that wouldn't get signed by the governor's office, but just want to put it on your radar, and I'll keep you guys up to date on that. And then executive session tonight, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder at all, Ben, but There's a few items in there. We are going to have one. We don't expect to have any action thereafter, but the superintendent's evaluation, the mid-year evaluation, which is in my contract, that's one of the items that we talked about last month, but we had a very long meeting doing some good work in other areas. Contract negotiations and the employment of specific individuals will all be items in that executive session. That's what I have.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dan on this update? Were folks able to read through the MOA today? Are you guys comfortable approving as is? Do you need a quick executive session to discuss? Like Dan said, I think he previewed this to us quite a bit before, so there's nothing really new to me other than seeing it all here in writing. But I think it's something we can talk about. So, if the group's comfortable, I would entertain the motion first to approve the MOA as written. So, thank you, Jeff. And a second. Kristen, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, great, that was fair.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you to our teachers and staff for being flexible and picking up those extra periods and trying to do all the things that Dan talked about to maximize coverage so that we have good qualified teachers in front of students every day versus folks who again are trying their best but maybe don't have the credentials or can't provide the same level of instruction to the students. So thank you folks for stepping in and doing that. Absolutely, it's amazing good groups. Okay. And that, sorry, I jumped around a little bit, lost my spot. So I believe that concludes our plans for our regular session tonight as being previewed. We do have anticipated need for an executive session for the two items that you've listed. So with that, I would entertain a motion to move into executive session at this time. Thank you, man. Second. Thank you, Crystal. All those in favor? Great. Thank you, folks. Again, there's no anticipated action from our executive session tonight, so I do believe the YouTube stream will be shutting down at this point. We won't be coming back on because we won't be taking any additional action other than just adjournment. So, thank you, folks, for coming tonight.